Well, I'm going fishing in the morning, gotta catch the early light. I'm going fishing for a feeling I get when the fish bite. Oh, I gotta say my prayers, roll down the covers, kiss my wife goodnight. I'm going fishing in the morning, gotta catch the early light. Early in the morning, it gets me from my sleep, way before the sunlight makes the sky. Catching a bow on a homemade hopper makes my day complete. Oh, there's magic in the rise, and I'm going fishing in the morning, gotta catch.
I've been going through books today, and I found one which I think is quite interesting because it's by Karol Krivanic, who was the Czech team manager and coach in the world fly fishing, and was one of the first people that I knew about that started fishing the European method in the World Championships. We first saw that in Tasmania in 1988. Since then, I worked with him at the adventures, and he did a book. But what is interesting now is I've found a videotape on Czech nymphing that has him in it, so the rest of you can enjoy it. Anyway, I'm going to run the first part of it on my fly fishing channel, and this is an extremely well done DVD on.
We're going to meet Karol on the outskirts of the village.
Hi, Karol.
Ah,
Have you already got a fish? Oh, God.
broken.
Is this the famous river?
Yes,
Moldova.
it's Vltava. Nice to meet you. Hello,
Hi.
hello, my friend.
Hi.
Welcome in Czech Republic and in South Bohemia.
It's great to be here. The area is fantastic. But the rivers, they're beautiful. Is this the typical rivers where you normally fish,
Yes,
Karol?
yes, it's mine river. Upper and lower part of Vltava river is my favorite.
So this is typical Czech nymph river?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's great. What kind of species of fish do you have here?
Here is main fish is brown trout,
Yeah.
rainbow trout, grayling, and some brook trouts.
Some brook trout as well. So what will the plans be for the week?
My friends have to show you how to fish in that hard condition in summer months. We have some trips to different rivers, and maybe we catch some fish.
Oh, that's going to be great. Really, really nice.
And you have to try fishing.
Yeah, I'm going to go up and get my things, and we
The basic idea of the Czech nymph method is to imitate the nymphs and larvae that come drifting in the water. Even though Karol wasn't an active competitor while he was national team coach, he is a complete master of the Czech nymph method. The Czech nymph method can be practiced in several different ways, so Karol's arranged for us to meet different fishermen, each one an expert in the different variations of the method. Tomorrow we're going to meet Milan Ladnic and František Tobias, who are both very skilled at the traditional short distance method. Today we're fishing further up the Vltava, where the river's narrower than in the village. The stretch we're fishing is fast and well suited to traditional Czech nymph techniques.
Shit fly. Some imitation of shit.
Realistic.
Native.
Milan and František belong to the younger generation of Czech nymph fishermen, and both learned to use the method in their youth.
To by vypadla, víte.
Jak já ti dám nějakou.
Proč tahle byla připravena?
To je dobrá, protože tahle má.
The current in the channel below the power station flows quickly and with some turbulence. Stonefly nymphs and some sedge species like these waters, which is why both Milan and František use imitations of wild sedge larvae. They use 3 different flies at the same time to give the fish more choice. František casts an extremely short line, almost just using the leader to fish with. The flies are cast using a swinging, lobbing movement diagonally upstream. The high speed of the current drives the flies downstream, so a new cast is needed. Both Milan and František fish all possible lies carefully and systematically, with several casts aimed at the same place.
Oh,
This gives even the most
Big
reticent
one.
trout a chance to take the fly, even if they hesitate at some of the first drifts. Because the flies are always drifting with the current, it's difficult to feel in the line or rod when the fish takes. Instead, the sudden movement of the leader indicates a bite. This is why both Milan and František constantly watch the leader, as the slightest tremble could mean a take. They always use polarized sunglasses to avoid being dazzled by the light reflected from the surface of the water. As a bite can often be very difficult to detect, František prefers to strike quite often rather than hesitate. Further downstream, the river widens and splits into a lot of small streams, which sometimes join up again as deeper pools or pockets where the fish like to stay. This is a real challenge for the method, even for such skilled fishermen as Milan and František. The still, unbroken surface of the pools makes the fish shy and easily frightened. You really need to creep up carefully and fish the pools in the correct order.
Small brownie.
In contradiction of all we've learnt, Milan and František wade over one of the deeper pools in this stretch to get to the other side. After having carefully fished the edge of the current on the other side, they return to fish the pool again, but from the other direction. We're surprised to see that the fish have stayed put, despite our wading this way and that. The lesson to be learned from this demonstration of the short line method is that we often fish too far out. If the surface is broken and deep, the fish can be waiting just under the tip of the rod. Both Vladimir Sedivy and Vít Mísa have been members of the Czech national team. Vladimir's greatest success to date was becoming the individual world champion in Sweden in 2001. Today we're fishing further downstream than yesterday. The Vltava is much wider and similar to the waters we're used to in southern Sweden. Vladimir and Vít are going to show us how the Czech nymph method can be used for longer distances, the medium distance method. Vladimir uses a somewhat longer leader than Milan and František used to demonstrate the short distance method. He's also tied in 20 centimetres of a bright orange nylon line between the leader and the fly line, so that he can more easily see takes further out in the river. His tackle consists of 3 different flies, with the heaviest at the bottom, so that the flies are presented in a straight line. Vít and Vladimir use both traditional Czech nymphs as well as the more modern jig nymphs. Vladimir decides to fish the edge of the current out to the river's deeper central channel. Every possible lie is fished with several drifts. The arm is held straight out at shoulder height to make it easier to steer the flies in the water. In contrast to the short distance method, several meters of fly line are used. The flies are cast diagonally upstream and then fished while drifting freely. But they don't just fish while the flies drift freely. Sometimes they extend the drift downstream. Keep the rod arm directed at the flies all the time by turning your body at the same speed as the flies travel downstream. When the drift has ended and the line is taut, they continue to fish, but in the traditional downstream wet fly style. By constantly changing the way the flies are presented, a large area is covered effectively with every cast. Note especially how the leader is kept taut over the surface of the water. The take is indicated when the leader's coloured butt suddenly moves. But it's quite common for Czech nymph fishermen to place a loop of the leader butt on the surface, so that a take is indicated when it sinks. This method works almost as well, but the leader makes no distinction between a genuine take and snagging the bottom. It sinks in both cases. The method used by Vladimir and Vít is much better, and there's a clear difference between a real take and snagging the bottom. It's an impressive sight to see how Vít and Vladimir so skillfully manage to steer the nymphs in the current, while keeping all of the leader and the fly line taut over the surface, without the flies starting to drag. and they catch fish almost all the time, evidence that they are masters of this method. During the afternoon, we pay a visit to one of the Vltava's tributaries, today coloured brown because of the heavy rain. The fish here are mainly grayling, trout and whitefish. Even some other species such as roach and chub are prized, in contrast to many other countries. To avoid scaring the fish, Vít and Vladimir kneel down when fishing. It's quite unusual to see fishermen kneeling in the river, but this is a really good way to get close to easily scared fish in shallow waters. The fish aren't big and the takes are very cautious. That's why Vít and Vladimir follow the leader very carefully and strike every time the leader moves. Vladimir fishes the shallow water above the pool. Note that no fly line is used at all with this method. It's just the long leader beyond the tip of the rod that's used for fishing. Vladimir's tied in a short piece of coloured line, a metre or so above the first fly. This will serve as a very sensitive strike indicator. Karol calls this a Czech variation of French nymphing, and it's used when there are shy fish in clear, shallow waters. We would, of course, look for fish first in the deeper holes, but Vladimir chooses to fish the fastest and shallowest areas of the pool instead. But if you look carefully at the current, you can see more lies behind the fist-sized stones than in the holes along the bottom. Having watched Vladimir and Vít carefully for a day, a clear picture emerges of two very determined fishermen who leave nothing to chance. Every cast and every presentation is given the 100% concentration it deserves.
Grayling. Double.
Another day's fishing, and this time we meet Martin Susel, the current coach for the Czech national team, who's just returned from the World Championships in New Zealand. He tells us with happiness and pride that the Czech team has just won its 6th gold medal. As team coach, he's expected to have both theoretical knowledge and practical skills at the very highest levels. Martin is recognised as an extremely skillful nymph fisherman, and he's promised to show us how to use the Czech nymph method in narrow and shallow waters. He's chosen a stretch high up the Vltava, which is very shallow and narrow. There's less fishing going on here than further down the river, but the sun is high and the low water level makes fishing especially difficult. Martin points out that under these conditions, it's wise to look for fish in the shadier parts of the river and in the more turbulent, oxygen-rich waters. Martin is a real master and uses 2 or 3 weight rods. The leader's about 12 foot long, with a tip of 0.08 to 0.12 millimetre thin fluorocarbon line. The flies are also very small, not like the large bushy Czech nymphs we've seen earlier. At first, the fishing's slow, and not even Martin has any great success with his method. After fishing a while, we're joined by a party of canoeists, and something quite strange happens. Just as the canoeists glide by, the fish start to take.
Unbelievable.
Martin catches several fish and can now demonstrate how his well-polished variation of Czech nymphing works.
Nice brown. Small brown.
As the water level is so low, most of the fish are gathered at the most promising lies in the river. Martin fishes these stretches with extra care, using repeated drifts to tempt the fish, in the end, to take the flies.
Yeah. Nice grilling.
Hi Martin.
Hi, Johan.
Does it go? Have you catch anything?
Yeah. Some grilling and some brownie. Not so big, but one grilling was really good. Good size, about 36, 37 centimeters.
Great.
Cockfish,
Very nice.
yeah.
Very nice. Yes.
With nice body, with nice color.
Yeah. What
Good.
fly did you caught from?
Yeah, today I'm using a really small pattern on jig hooks with tungsten bead.
Yes.
On the point I've got silver head with black body.
This one is a lot smaller than that one I use.
Yeah, yeah, because the water is really down, it's really shallow today. In summer it's not a lot of water, yeah, and you must use a small pattern for graying fishing this part of here.
All right.
You know.
So you started with this thing, or?
No, I start with heavier fly, but I've caught nothing.
No.
Yeah, it was too heavy and I touched too much on the bottom, and I changed it. And I have got about 4 or 5 touch from the fish, but not strike any, because I start with a little bit stronger nylon, 0.13. I think it could be about 7x, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 7x.
Yeah.
And when I changed the leader, and now I'm using the thinner nylon, 0.10 millimeters.
Yeah.
And from this time I've caught about 8 fish.
Yeah. That's very thin. That's very thin leader.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion about thin leaders? Is it necessary when Czech nymphing, or is it?
Yeah. And when you're fishing the nature fish, here are just nature grayling and brownies.
Yeah.
And I think our fishermen are really clever, and fish are also clever because are a lot of hook,
Yes.
So
Yes.
hooks, and in competition, or in normal fishing, we are using really thin nylon.
Those patterns, they're really nice.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna fish now, you fish close to the shore side at the shadows, or
Yeah, on the bank, by the bank, are staying mostly brownies.
Yeah.
But grilling are in the faster water.
All right.
Now in the summer, because they are find the faster water for oxygen. Yeah, because in the autumn they are staying in the slowly water, but now they are in shallow water and fast water.
Oh, that's great. So if you will point a position for me to try for grayling, would that be somewhere in between the stones there?
Yeah, could be. For dry fly it's better a little bit slowly water.
All right.
They are rising very nice on the last part of stream.
Yeah.
But for nymphing it's better to fish in fast water.
But I don't have any of those nymphs.
Yeah, no problem.
You have one? Oh my, great.
Okay. For example, this one.
Yeah.
This is the fly.
Oh, great. Oh, that's a small little silverhead.
Yeah.
So I try that position there with a little nymph there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You try it.
We go for it.
During the afternoon, it's time to try our luck in another river. This river has a completely different character, and the faster moving stretches yield a lot of grayling. Martin starts off by fishing the quieter flowing pools, but the fish refuse to take in spite of lots of casts and drifts. Martin changes to smaller flies to see if it will help. Martin decides on a new strategy and starts to fish the much shallower stretch just upstream. We're surprised to see that there are feeding fish here. The reason is that the fish have left the warm pools for the more turbulent but oxygenated waters. The grayling in the Czech Republic are much smaller than we're used to in Scandinavia, but this phenomenon has a natural explanation. As graylings spawn, a number of small cuts are made on the body. As the water here is quite warm during the spawning season, these cuts are more easily infected, so grayling never get to be more than 3 to 4 years old, and just don't get a chance to grow larger before they die.
Small grayling.
Milan Janus is one of the real pioneers of Czech nymphing. He's played an important part in developing the modern Czech nymph method. We're going to meet Milan and his friend David Voldrich on the Otava River. In contrast to the other rivers we've fished during the past few days, this is much bigger. Milan, whose nymphing skills are renowned far beyond the borders of the Czech Republic, has promised to show us how the long-distance method works. Milan uses a leader which is about 20 feet long. The first 15 feet are in a bright orange-yellow colour for easy visibility. Milan casts the flies diagonally upstream, about 15 metres out. When the flies have landed, he mends upstream so that the furthest part of the line lies in a loop the shape of a hook. At the end of the leader, he has a weighted nymph and an unweighted wet fly as a dropper. While the flies are upstream, they drift and sink slowly closer to the bottom. At this point, the flies are meant to imitate free-drifting insect larvae, but should also be allowed to sink deep enough. When the flies have drifted a few metres below Milan's position, the line is stretched by slowly raising the top of the rod. The flies start to drag against the current and rise slowly towards the surface, just like a hatching nymph or sedge pupa. Similar methods have been used by other well-known nymphers in the past. The Lazenring lift and Frank Sawyer's induced take are among the most famous. Even David uses the long-distance method, but instead of looking at the leader when the fish takes, he uses a dry fly as a strike indicator. In the bend of the dry fly hook, he hangs a half-metre tippet with a small nymph on the end. By using this leader construction, the fish can take the fly both on and under the surface of the water. This method is sometimes very effective, and has been widely used for a long time in the USA and Europe. It's time to leave the Czech Republic for now, but we're full of inspiration and discoveries, and the training provided by the grandmasters of modern nymph fishing. But before we leave, Karol has promised to tell us how Czech nymph fishing began.
I can show you that historical
Oh, that will be lovely.
Historical
you have them there?
patterns.
Yeah. All right. That's great.
That is that original Polish
Okay.
hydropsyche.
So this is the fly from 1984
Yes,
with the back and yes.
peacock's back.
Yes.
This one is the first Czech
Okay.
pattern.
Yes. And what's interesting is that I can see the back here. And that's something typical for the Czech nymph, I
Yeah,
guess. Yes. And this was 1987.
1987, 17 September. We know that that's the date.
Yeah.
It is original fly.
Yeah. The Janus original.
Yeah.
Gammarus.
Yeah. And next was that fly. It's a little bear,
The little bear. Yeah.
very secret and very fatty.
Very
Fly.
fast, very heavy fly. The back, what is made of?
It is from catfish skin.
Wow. Catfish skin.
Next model,
Yeah.
original, was that
Wow.
Bobesh. It's very famous fly. We win for that fly
Yeah.
in 1991, 1990 in Wales.
In Wales.
In
All right.
Wales.
And this is for me very much of a Czech nymph.
Yeah,
with the back.
It's the first original Czech nymph.
So, Karol, what is the difference from today's Czech nymph style compared to how it was 1984?
In past we are using rods size 5
Yes.
and nylons 0.18, 0.16.
Yeah.
And nowadays we are using very fine nylons,
Yeah.
fluorocarbons, and very soft rods, size 2, size 3. That's why if we fish in hard condition,
Yeah.
we have to fish with very thin
Yeah.
nylon
Very
and
thin
soft
nylon.
rod.
How thin are the nylon?
It is 0.10,
Oh, my.
0.12,
That's
but
very
sometimes 0.08.
Oh my God, that's very thin. But Karol, one last question. How did the Czech nymph style one start?
Yes, it is 25-year-old history. Our team was in Poland for one fly fishing event,
Okay.
and the first people of our country saw that style, that short style. That's why the Polish competitors didn't have fly lines,
All right.
and then are using the thick nylon.
Instead of a fly line.
Yeah.
All right.